Nerdcast assemble! Stay dandy, baby. The ultimate hype train continues in another exciting episode of Digimon Adventure. You know, it took me a couple of episodes, but I'm finally starting to accept the fact that this series is doing something a little different. It's not going to be the exact same as the original Digimon Adventure, and I never wanted it to be the exact same. I wanted things to be different. And if that means bringing in ultimate level Digimon just a little bit early, well, I guess it has to happen. I will say, however, that while I wasn't gelling too much with the last couple of episodes with the super fast introduction of ultimate level Digimon and the fact that the main characters are already getting their Digimon to evolve into their ultimate forms, this episode warmed up to me a lot more, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that while I do consider myself a Digimon fan, it's mostly in a nostalgic sense. I grew up watching the original Digimon anime when I was a very young kid, watching it on Fox Kids and seeing it for the very first time. I never really jumped into any of the sequels. The only one that I really ever watched was the sequel to the original, which was Digimon Adventure 2, which was basically all about the next generation of kids and how they interacted with the previous cast. But I never saw anything else past that. I never dived into the spin-off seasons or the Tamers or whatever you want to call it. I never even really watched too much of the brand new movies that came out. I think I watched the first one and I was kind of done with it. Basically, in my life, Digimon was done for me, but when they brought back this one, I wanted to check it out and see if I could sort of recapture a lot of that nostalgia, and I think this episode right here is really sort of doing a great job of that. And like I said, since I didn't follow any of the other Digimon anime series, just about any other Digimon that appears in the series, to me anyway, is going to be completely brand new, and there were a lot of new ones in this episode, but as well as a lot of other classics. And it looks like Sora and Piyomon are going to be the big stars of this episode, and honestly, I thought that it was pretty freaking awesome. So overall, this entire episode, again, is about these two groups of Digidestined who are making their way to try and find the Holy Digimon. And this one is going to focus on Sora and their group as they make their way through this forest and jungle when suddenly they notice all of these bee-looking Digimon who go by the name, and I can't believe they call them this, CannonBeemon. I guess they're really fun bee Digimon. I don't know. The point is they're these cute little bee Digimon which are all being captured by these mechanical-looking wasp Digimon called, of course, Waspmon. And basically they're taking them to this massive living fortress of a Digimon, which I have to say has got to be one of the coolest looking ones that I have ever seen, CannonBeemon. This is one of the coolest Digimon that I have ever seen. It doesn't even look like a Digimon. It looks like a freaking Transformer, like something out of Beast Wars. It's like a giant freaking just like bee mechanical fortress. It's so big that the Waspmon can actually go inside of it, and it's essentially just like a giant floating fortress. But basically what's going on here is that the CannonBeemon is capturing all these fun Beemon and transforming them into the Waspmon. You follow me? Mon? That's basically what's going on here. And Sora, of course, wants to help out all of the fun Beemon, and Yamato is there along to help. And they also have to help out Joe and Gomamon, because they have been captured by the Waspmon and have been thrown into this massive bee-like fortress. And basically they come up with a plan which is going to allow them to get captured, to go inside. Is anybody getting Star Wars Episode 4 going into the Death Star to save Princess Leia vibes from this episode? Because I certainly am. That's basically what I'm actually getting from this episode. But I loved the teamwork in this episode. I loved watching Yamato and Sora team up and use their distinctive abilities. Of course, we got to see the return of classics like Garudamon, who is continuing to still be awesome. He's definitely still, I think, you know, I like Metal Greymon, and I like the other Ultimate level Digimon, but over the years, Garudamon has truly grown on me with how incredibly cool he is. A lot of that is probably owed to the fact that I really like werewolves, but man, he was just so awesome in this episode. I especially love the scene where he was attacking and drop-kicking all of these Waspmon. It was really impressive. But as the name of the episode would totally give away, of course it looks like Sora and Piyomon are going to be the true stars of the episode, as towards the end, of course, it is now Piyomon's turn to get to her ultimate form, which is Garudamon, the classic one from the past, which again, I still think has a solid design. I loved it back in the 90s. I'm loving it here, and it looks really solid. And its battle against CannonBeemon was also really impressive because this thing is not only very large, but it's also really powerful. Like, it ends up, like, firing this massive laser at a mountain, which basically takes out a very large chunk of it, showing that this is easily one of the most powerful Digimon that we've ever seen in the entire franchise. It was devastatingly strong, and they come up with this awesome plan where basically Yamato and Garudamon are going to sort of, like, gather all of the fun Beemon in this, like, one spot of the CannonBeemon's fortress, and they're basically going to make it so that they can sort of remove all of them, allowing Sora and Garudamon to take this thing out. They end up having like this big standoff where CannonBeemon fires a massive laser, and then you have Garudamon, which uses an attack which I think is called Shadow Wing, which is essentially just like a giant like blast of like red energy, and they end up having like this cool standoff, battling each other, and Garudamon ends up winning. And man, it's awesome. It's a total Death Star moment too. Like I said, like, it's not just them sneaking in, it's them actually taking out the massive fortress and everything, and they end up winning the day. And I thought that it was really solid, to be perfectly honest, and it was different. That's what I really loved about it. This one, even though it did feature more of the ultimate evolutions, which again I'm warming up to, I really loved the overall story of watching Sora come together with Yamato to save Joe, and that, and of course all the new Digimon. I just really loved them in this episode. The Fun Beemon, the Waspmon, and that CannonBeemon. I can't sell how cool that I thought that thing actually was. Like I said, I don't remember seeing that in the original show, and it was just awesome. Maybe one of the biggest Digimon, too, that I've ever seen, considering that they were all able to sort of go around inside of it. So yeah, crazy episode right here. And it all ends again with Taichi and their group as they continue to make their way to the Holy Digimon. We're 13 episodes into this one, and the adventure is still continuing. And this is one of those few instances, too, where I say don't watch the preview for the next episode. The title doesn't necessarily give away what's going to happen, but it does give you kind of a hint. But the preview completely gives away what like the next character is going to be in terms of what their ultimate level Digimon is going to be. Basically continuing the trend, so it looks like we're just going to keep on moving through this until we get to see all the ultimate level Digimon. So what's the rundown on this episode of Digimon Adventure? The last couple episodes have been kind of meh for me. This one actually sort of reinvigorated me a little bit, and I really loved it, to be perfectly honest. I especially loved the scene at the end where we got to see Garudamon going through a really awesome Digi-evolution process with her flying through the sky and slowly transforming and seeing like that distinctive look of Garudamon come out. Like, I thought that looked really freaking solid. That combined with the heart-pounding music just got me so excited and made me feel like a kid again. Like I was watching Digimon like on Fox Kids. Like, it totally felt like that. Except now it's all in Japanese, which, to be honest, is probably a lot better. And I think I'm enjoying it a lot more in that sense. Basically, I just got a lot of enjoyment out of this episode. It made me feel like a kid again watching this one. It all felt really new and familiar in the best ways possible. Kind of like how I felt about the first couple episodes of this entire season of Digimon Adventure, bringing me back and getting me excited to see more of what's actually going to come. And, I still didn't get that full Birdramon Digi-evolution sequence, but we did get some small slivers of that in this episode, which I thought looked really cool. And if anything, Garudamon's evolution process I thought looked really great. And I think it's actually a smart decision to separate the characters like this a little bit more, because it allows them to be in these smaller groups, which allows for much better characterization without one group not getting completely overshadowed. I think it's a great way to sort of build them up, and to, choose the characters that they did for this, I think was also handled really smartly. It is still worth mentioning, however, though, that technically the original full team is not together yet. I will say that they are truly changing up some things here for the fact that TK has not been brought into the series. We've seen him a little bit in the show, but the fact that he's not a part of the core group 13 episodes in really is completely different than the original, and I do like that. I think they're going to basically be combining him and, Taichi's younger sister when they come in. Like, they're going to bring in the little kids maybe more towards the end, and it makes sense because TK and Taichi's little sister always had, like, more of a connection with one another with the fact that they have very similar Digimon with the Angemon and Angewomon. So I think they're going to try and, sort of push that element just a little further when they do decide to introduce them. Otherwise, I liked this episode quite a bit. It really invigorated my love of the series. I loved the creative Digimon designs, and I loved the really cool story, and Garudamon was awesome. This was definitely a episode that highlights the selflessness of Sora as well, which I really appreciated. She's always been that type of character, and this was sort of like, I think, the best thing for her. So yeah, loved this episode. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Yeah, it wasn't perfect in some senses in terms of animation or artwork, but as far as entertainment value goes, for me, I was fully entertained the entire time, and I am excited to see more. So yeah, I loved this episode, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it, and you can sound off in the comment section below, telling me what you thought about the latest episode of Digimon Adventure, the big introduction of Garudamon. What do you hope to see from the future of this adaptation of Digimon Adventure? Let's discuss that and this episode in the comment section below. So, Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos and anime reviews and discussions just like this one. If you did like this video, consider hitting the like button. It helps out the video a lot, and it ensures that more people can see my content. Also, I want to thank all my patrons who've been checking out my Patreon page. You guys are awesome, supporting this channel every single month. I cannot thank you enough for your donations. Remember, first-time donators, I can review an anime series of your choice, as well as adding your name to this list of people who are super freaking awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.